From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Steve, and yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back with you and looking forward to another fun conversation.
Oh, always. It's always great when we can connect and have a discussion.
If you didn't listen to our past episode, we were talked about what you can get out of going to events like Infocom, is because that is a something that's coming up at the time that we're recording this in 2025. So check that out. You'll probably get a lot of insight from that, and you'll get to hear a little bit about how to reach us and connect with us at the show. So for today, we're going to shift gears just a bit. We'll talk about something that I think will be up for debate and is probably something that's a challenge that many of us face in AV as well as in lot of other areas of business. So we're going to talk about the difference between getting something done, doing it right, and doing it perfectly. And I think that could be a challenge to a lot of people. There's some that want to be productive, and getting it done is really what is most important. Doing it right sounds like it's you know a good thing, but are you sacrificing anything by not doing it perfectly? So um, what do you think of, James, when you hear this, and how is this relatable to your world and your experiences?
So, yeah, what I think about it on when I hear this is, I'll admit, I kind of lean more towards the middle one of getting it done right. Because getting it done to me is you're rushing, you're hushing, you have no, what's the word I'm looking for? No real interest in the work you're doing. Like, here I have a task, just got to get done. Doing it perfect, I think when I hear that is you're setting a unrealistic expectation. Because let's admit it, it's never perfect. Especially us programmers. Like, we can never have a perfect code because we're always modifying, we're always updating. So we're aiming for perfect. Our job will never get done. So I always aim for do it right. Um, I knew somebody who said once in a meeting, he did get in trouble for making this comment, but I knew him well, a buddy of mine in a meeting back where he worked. He said, we do it right because we do it twice. He was making fun of it because he was saying, oh, they tend to do things multiple times. And yeah, that wasn't the right way of saying it. And that's why he got in trouble and all that stuff. But yeah, you got to do it right because it may take you a little longer, but that effort today, and I read this just recently, the effort you put in today makes tomorrow easier. If today is easy, tomorrow is going to be hard.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to tend to agree in all respects to what you're saying too. And you know, I I think that it's hard sometimes for people, like you said, to avoid doing it perfectly or trying to achieve doing it perfectly. That can be difficult. Um, but not doing it right, I think, will cost you. But sometimes there are situations where getting it done is the right solution. Like it's the and so because sometimes things don't need to be thought through so much, or not that don't need to be analyzed, or there is there is a small um, variation between them getting it done and doing it right, let's say. And I'm not saying you don't want to do it right, but getting it done is sufficient. And I'm trying to think of a good example of that, but sometimes you have to vary the approach just a little bit.
So I think I have an example. It's not a programming one, but I have an example, and I'm calling myself out here on this. Kind of what you're saying, getting it done, but not always doing it the right way. And, especially when I was younger, we all know the proper way, the OSHA requirements, you got to get up somewhere high, you take a ladder, you do things safely. Let's all admit, we all jumped on a table. You just got to unplug something real quick. You didn't bring a ladder with you. That is getting it done. It's not
Hmm.
doing it the right way. Um, Now, as I'm older and as a manager, you got to do it the right way. Because let's take that, like let's look at that scenario of, say, we were just had to power cycle the projector, so you had to get up on a table and to pull the power, and you fell and you got hurt. Now you got worker comp, you're out of work. Like there's so much negative outcomes of that, where you could have just taken that extra time, maybe 15 minutes to go get a ladder and go up safely, and do it properly. Yeah, maybe taking you 2 minutes to go up on the table, but yeah, maybe you didn't fall this time. And this is the hardest thing I get across my son sometimes when we talk about things. It's like, okay, boys are, but kids are kids. I won't say gender. Kids are kids, And you said, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. And you'd be like, oh, I did it. I didn't get hurt. Well, no, you didn't get hurt this time. Doesn't mean next time you won't get hurt. Same thing. Like, okay, maybe you didn't fall off the table this time, but maybe next time you will.
Yeah. I'll say that adults even are subjected or to those types of situations, and there are many that will say, well, you warn them and you say, if you do that, this could happen, and they say, no, I did it, didn't happen, and it's probably not going to change the way they approach it next time too. So it's just what it is. I can think of a time of an example maybe of like getting it done versus doing it right. And I may not be proud of this, but we all have probably been under the gun to make a project work and make some code work. And sometimes you will work on solving your problem by just addressing what needs to happen in order to get done and get be able to leave the job site, let's say, because it's late, or get done before a meeting, or just because it just you can't spend more time on it. And sometimes we call that a patch, sometimes we call it, it's like a hack, but you're not necessarily solving the problem and either documenting it or updating your code for reuse in the future. And we're just had to insert what needed to happen right now, and it solved the problem. That was a good solution at the time and may have been what needed to happen because time didn't allot for you to do it right, but it got it done. So that was an example that I can think of.
That's a good example, but I'll have a little disclaimer here because the saying I've heard at my old job and I kind of taken with me is, if you don't have the time to do it right, well, you have the time to do it again. Um, and it's true. I mean, like, yeah, it'll take a little extra on the front end, to do it the right way, but yeah, it's like, okay, sometimes, like you just said, you have to get it done. You're under a time crunch. You got to get it done. Um, but what are you doing? How are you hurting yourself the long run? Like when you have to go back and manage that code, which talk about programmers here. Is it going to take you longer now to manage that code? Because one, it's you did something that you didn't do by standard, you didn't document it, you didn't notation it correctly. Now you're going to spend more time trying to patch or fix or modify or understand that code 6, 10 months, year down the road. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's the best I heard is you always have a choice, and every choice has a consequence to it. Could be a good one, could be a bad one. You just have to accept that consequence.
Yeah. Yeah. I certainly don't argue that it is the best solution. It just may be the solution that you needed at the time. So it was, you know, I could see it as that, and just to kind of look at things from different ways. If we look at the other end of the spectrum, striving for perfection, like you said, is really not feasible. And but yet there are a lot of people that, um, and me included, you want to take the time, you want to be thorough, you want to make sure that there is, you know, you figure you've looked at your problem, and you've eliminated all of the variables, and you've examined all of the use cases, and you've made this so that it is highly unlikely that you're going to have bugs. However, you've spent you've overrun your time, or your budget considerably. That is not something that is going to probably be favorable in the real world, if you will.
Yeah, you got to keep all those variable in mind. Those, the budget, the scope, the timeline. Sometimes you gotta get it done, and striving for perfect is never. Yeah, we're setting ourselves up for failure. And like you were talking about, like I mean, me personally, I find it very hard to believe that one person or even a team of from a company could sit here and think of every single outcome, every single scenario, and address every single scenario in their code. Even say you had the unlimited budget, unlimited time to get it done, I don't think you could do it. Um, so it's really one of those things that like, okay, you're striving for perfect, you're never going to achieve it. So you never get that satisfaction of, hey, I did a good job and I got it done.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I did it the right way or got it done.
Yeah, I think maybe a good way of looking at that too can be you provided the right solution given all the parameters that you had. It,
You, you did perfect for the time at that moment.
yeah, yeah, if you have a budget, you can't put in the best of the best, because it's just not feasible, or you can't take unlimited time because it's not feasible, or you can't uh, you try to accommodate all of the needs because it's not feasible.
Yeah, definitely. And then also, again, trying to understand every scenario is not feasible either. We're not built that way. I kind of I like to try to think of like structural engineers. And kid I went to high school with went into the field, and he was saying, like, I remember having a conversation with him. It's like, well, why don't you engineers design bridges not to fail? Like, bake them stronger and all that stuff. And he brought up a good point. He's like, no, we actually design things to fail. And the reason why is they can control the failure. That's why bridges have like weight limits. If they know the bridge will
Mm.
fail at this weight, they are controlling the failure point. Again, they could sit there and throw everything they need into it, and but if they can't control the failure point, they never know what's going to happen. So, I think that's maybe a good mindset even in our programming. It's like, how can we make this so it doesn't fail, or we know the failure points?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think it's one of those things where you can document that this does this, but it does not do this, or these situations are not built in, or not satisfied within the code that you're writing.
Oh yeah, and I definitely talk with people like on my team and stuff when it's like we can do this and we are not doing this. Because sometimes if you don't clearly say not doing this or you can't do this, people can start assuming, well, I thought it would do that, or I thought you were doing that. Nope, we're not.
Yeah, that this actually ties in really well to a scope of work conversation that we've had in the past, and it's a great way of saying let's put a box around what we're doing, and we say we're going to fit within this box, and that's going to be the parameters and requirements that we're satisfying, and that's how we define done and right, and that's how we define that this was a good solution for what we've intended to do.
Yep.
Well, this is a good conversation. I hope that our audience and programmers will be able to relate to it. It's certainly something that a lot of people will, if you haven't before, struggle with or have conversations with, both with peers and managers. It's just a product of what we do. James, how could people get in touch with you, learn more what you're up to, and continue this conversation?
You can always find me on the socials. I'm out there. X as AV underscore James King. Blue Sky, even though I'm not really active on there. LinkedIn as James King. I'm in the Ask the Programmer community on LinkedIn. Anything with HEPMA. Again, you Google me, you'll find me.
Absolutely. And for me, you can reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media and my company, Control Concepts. We help to support this show by providing some of the building blocks that programmers need to succeed. And what that entails is either device control or additional functionality. And you can find all of that at controlconcepts.net. Uh, as James mentioned, we really want to encourage conversation in the LinkedIn group, Ask the Programmer. So please uh, check us out there, join it, share your thoughts, your comments, your favorite episodes, and it's a good way for us to connect and build this community and follow up on some of these conversations that we try to start by these podcasts. And as you may or may not know, we do have two different formats for this podcast. We have a video version on YouTube, an audio version on your favorite podcast player. Check both of those out, whichever one suits you best. That's where you can find us. And we welcome a rating, review, feedback, and so forth, as well as your thoughts about podcast topics or interest in being a part of the show. And thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.